I'm Justin Boyd.
And I'm the Wolverine, and we are the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to continue our journey through the Wolverine and the Wolverine and Deadpool movies. We're getting ready for Deadpool and Wolverine. I keep flopping it, messing it up. But so Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out next month. As we're recording this, it's June 4th, 2024. Deadpool and Wolverine comes out July 26th next month. So we're trying to get you ready for it. Last week we talked about X-Men Origins Wolverine. This week we're discussing 2013's The Wolverine. Before I get Brittany's thoughts on it, let me hit you with the Wolverine facts. The film came out July. Hold on one second. Gotta get my notes here. Where are my notes? My notes have disappeared.
Came out back in the day, y'all.
Computer failure. Yeah, here we go. I got it, Nick. The film released July 26th, 2013. It's the sixth movie in the X-Men film series. It's the second Wolverine solo film, and it's a sequel to X-Men The Last Stand, which is the third film in the X-Men series. I know the timeline's kind of confusing. It doesn't really get any clearer going forward, but we're going to do our best to try to explain it. Budget of $132 million. The movie made $414 million at the box office, so it did turn a profit, I would think. Although we've talked about this before with Hollywood accounting, who knows? Runtime 2 hours and 8 minutes. I think the film's a little long. We'll probably talk about that a little bit more. Rotten Tomatoes score 71%. So it's a big step up from X-Men Origins, which was like 38%. So 71% passing grade. Spoiler alert, I like the movie. So directed by James Mangold, who also went on to direct Logan. He also directed Ford versus Ferrari and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, among other things. He's reportedly going to maybe direct a DC movie for James Gunn in the future. And he might be doing a Star Wars movie. Or maybe he was, but he's not. It's hard to keep up, honestly. He's a big-time director either way. And the cast, of course, includes Hugh Jackman, Rila Fukushima, Tao Okamoto, Hiroyuki Sanada, Svetlana Khodchenkova, Haruhiko Yamanouchi, Brian T, Famke Janssen, and Will Yun Lee. Brittany, that was maybe the most difficult names of like cast I've ever had to pull off. I actually practiced earlier today. So
listen,
anyway,
I applaud you for that. Those names are tough to yeah. I mean, aside from the Japanese names or the Asian names in general, and I'm not being disrespectful at all, people don't come at me. The other one, it sounded very Slavic
yes,
sort of name.
Svetlana, the actress who plays Viper / Dr. Green, yeah. Svetlana Khodchenkova.
Oof.
I had to spell a lot of these names phonetically. So
bravo to you, Justin. I give you a lot of credit for that.
Old journalism trick, yeah.
Right? I would have butchered every single name aside from Hugh Jackman. So yeah, this movie.
So, let's talk about it. Besides the cast is very difficult to say their names, some of them. What'd you think about the film? Did you see this movie in the theaters by any chance? And do you remember the first time you saw it?
I did not see this movie in theaters.
Okay.
The first time I saw this movie was 2 days ago.
So you remember it very well.
I remember. I remember where I was, what I was wearing. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, this is another one of these X-Men movies. I've said it in the previous pod. I love X-Men. I love Wolverine. Why I haven't watched these two spinoffs for reasons I couldn't give you, because it just, I don't know. I just didn't. And when this movie would play on TV, I would always catch it in the same spot, which was always the bullet train scene. And it's like, okay, this is cool. Like I like the special effects. I like the choreography with the fighting and what have you, but I would never actually sit and watch the rest of the movie. And this is just something with me in general. If it's a movie that I'm catching in the middle or at any point other than the beginning, and I've never seen this movie before, I'm not going to sit and watch it, especially when it has commercials. Okay. I just don't have the patience for it. Yeah. So that's partly the reason why I haven't, sat and watched this movie. So to sit and watch the movie for the very first time in its entirety recently, I would agree it's better than X-Men Origins. Mm-hmm. Definitely the fight scenes are so much better. I love how much Hugh Jackman just performed, of course. Also, this is like the best shape he's ever been in to be Wolverine. I think I read somewhere that in other movies for X-Men, he never had enough time to prep and to, get in the best physique that he wanted. This time he actually did. Listen, it pays off. That's why we see him shirtless, behind us here with our background. And Ryan,
Honestly, most of the movie, he's kind of like, I mean, he's either in a wife beater or shirtless. Yeah.
yeah, it was yeah, I'm okay with that. I'm not mad about that. Overall, the movie is a lot better than Origins.
Mhm.
I have questions. I think there's some wonkiness to some of the storyline, and I also agree that the movie is just a tad bit too long.
Yeah.
And I yeah, there's some issues I have with this movie, but overall, I think it's fine. It's better than, as I said, Origins. But I also still am gonna stay true to myself. I still like the X-Men movies
Mhm.
far better. That's just me.
Okay. So I actually like the Wolverine movies better than most of the X-Men movies. But as far as this movie, like you, I had not seen this movie in its entirety. I mean, actually, I watched it when the pandemic started, but before that, I had seen parts and pieces of this movie like on FX many times, and I feel like I'd kind of seen the whole movie. But as far as like sitting down and actually watching it, the first time I watched it was in 2020, and then this week I watched it twice. I like the movie. I like it quite a bit. This movie is kind of just a straight up action film where the protagonist is Wolverine, instead of it being, like Bruce Willis or something, it's just Wolverine. I like that. I like that concept. I think that this movie it's kind of the thing about the Wolverine movies, and there's a trilogy, the three movies. This movie is a step up from Origins. And then spoiler alert for Logan, which we're going to review later on, maybe probably next month. That movie is much better than this movie, in my opinion. So it's kind of an odd trilogy where each movie, the next movie is better than the previous one. And I honestly, it's tough. And Brittany, I want to pose this to you. I only thought of one other franchise where you could kind of, or trilogy that you could maybe say that with. And I think like obviously this is preferences, right? But maybe you could say the Captain America movies, maybe they get better. But see, I personally think Winter Soldier is better than Civil War. But I mean, both of them are great. Honestly, all three movies, first Avengers, the trilogy is excellent. But I can't think of another trilogy where every movie is better than their predecessor. Can you think of any trilogies like that?
Star Wars. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, to me, the original trilogy, you're
The
right.
original, sure.
Because I see a lot of people think Empire Strikes Back is the best movie. I like Return of the Jedi. So that you're
Yeah.
right. In my opinion, you're
Yeah.
exactly right. Yeah.
They're probably, in terms of trilogies, man, that's difficult to say too, because
Yeah.
I won't say it's Iron Man because I think Iron Man 3 was terrible. No disrespect to Robert Downey and company. It's
Well,
just that
Iron Man
that
1 is easily the best one too.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
without a doubt. I will agree with you about Captain America in the order that it was released. Every movie did get better, and Civil War is like almost a number one for me, just
Right.
just because it's basically an Avengers 2.0 movie. But we're not here to talk about that.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could pinpoint another trilogy that is on this same level because I have watched Logan. I did not watch that one in theaters, spoiler y'all, but I have watched Logan in its entirety. And man, that movie is just on a different level altogether because it really branched out. Again, I'm not going to digress. We'll save that for when we do the Logan pod. I guess, yeah, Captain America would probably be the only other trilogy I would say definitely got better with every other movie.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a tough task,
Yeah.
to if you're watching this or listening to this now, let us know in the comments. Like, is there a trilogy we're not thinking of where the movies get better as they go along? I'd be interested to kind of think because, like, Back to the Future is not that way.
Mm.
Well, I mean, Jurassic Park is more than three. Like there's when it's really just three movies, it's hard to think of one. I mean, maybe Lord of the Rings, right?
Matrix? Oh, there's 4 movies in
There's
Matrix
four,
now.
but there's
Yeah.
like the original Lord of the Rings. Maybe that's true, right?
Well, and then there's 3 parts of The Hobbit, even though it is
Right.
just one book. But
Yeah.
there are maybe Lord of the Rings. Maybe
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings, again, I feel like that's its own class. However, given that Lord of the Rings has source right? It has source material, whereas I mean, X-Men does too, of course, but like I really wish Frank was able to join us today because he could probably offer more on maybe where they pulled this story from, because I think there are comics that revolve around Wolverine in Japan and what have you. And I think maybe even Hugh Jackman has read them and is a huge fan of that particular series. So there may be source, but maybe just not as in depth, of course, as Lord of the Rings. Either way, it's tough. Trilogies are really tough to pull off in general. And yeah, I'm not sure entirely.
Yeah, and honestly, like even like Captain America is not a true trilogy because obviously Captain America, his story is told over Avengers movies and other
Yeah.
movies, just like Wolverine, his story is told over nine movies or 10 movies. So um, we're trying to be particular here with Wolverine's in the title or Logan's in the title. But
Mhm.
anyway, let us know if we're missing some trilogies that get better as they go on. Um, we mentioned the action. And I think something else about this movie that I think it really is a step up is this film just looks great. Like it looks to me,
Yeah.
it's easily the best looking X-Men film up until this point. Like
Yes.
there's so many cool visuals. We're gonna go through some of that in the action scenes when we kind of break it down. But this movie, like, I don't think movies look like this anymore. This was only 11 years ago, but this looks pretty damn good. Yeah, I mean, like
Yeah.
from the Silver Samurai, kind of, mech suit to, the Viper lady shedding her skin and hair, like that looked pretty
That was cool.
cool.
That was yeah.
Um, Obviously location being mostly in Japan, like this is an excellent looking film. Just kind of visually, it's like this is like to the eye, it's kind of it's a pleasant thing to like watch.
Yeah, if I recall what little research I did find about locations, yes, of course, they filmed in Japan. I think they also filmed in Australia
Yeah.
and one other location that escapes me at the moment. But you're right. The CGI, the set production and all that looked really good. Even like as much as I hate to admit it, the Love Hotel. Like the Love Hotel looked really cool. Like, and I know those are things that actually do exist in
Right.
Japan and they have like different themed rooms. And I thought that was just like a
Yeah.
fun addition to the movie because it's like you said, it's an action movie. I mean, yes, Wolverine is a superhero, but it's really fully an action movie. And then you have that tidbit in there that adds some sort of humor and just that uncomfortable awkwardness in there. I thought that was a great addition as well. But I love the idea, of course, that it's set in Japan and there's so many beautiful aesthetics of Japan, and even the town that they venture off to that's supposed to be kind of like off the map of how the people can find Mariko, but yeah, I mean, it's very well done. It's visually appealing. It's much better than X-Men Origins because if y'all checked out our pod there, I mentioned how I just did not like the look of the claws, the adamantium claws. They looked terrible, especially
Right.
in the mirror. And the special effects people were like, "Oh yeah, it was a step up from oh god, what was the other movie? Jesus, it escapes me." Anyway, it doesn't matter. They're like, "Oh yeah, it looks so much better than X-Men." I'm like, "It does not look better." But this time, yes, it looked really good. I think they actually redesigned how the claws look for this movie, and it looked really good to me. Even the hard parts where spoilers, Wolverine does get some of his adamantium claws snapped off, so that was tough to watch. But I have other questions that revolve around the adamantium, not adamantium, but just the claws in general. But
Yeah.
we'll cover that when we get there.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the criticisms of the movie that maybe we have.
Okay.
Um, I'll start with one of mine is the fact that, well, I think this movie is a step up from Origins. I think that maybe like I like the idea of okay, let's take Wolverine, let's send him to Japan. He has like this
Mm,
mission, right? But there are like obviously it's not a huge cast, right?
no.
However, there's I think there's too many characters for the story. I think this movie should have been more stripped down to where it's like Wolverine goes to Japan, has to face off with Silver Samurai. I think that's cool. There's a lot of characters that are kind of in the middle of this film that like they serve a purpose, but like I think it could have been a better story if you kind of stripped it away and like kept it more basic. What do you think about that?
I'm glad you're leading off this review with that question because one of my criticisms for sure is the leading lady with Mariko. No disrespect to her, whatever. I believe this was that particular actress's debut.
Oh wow. Okay.
I could be wrong. I could be wrong, but I think I read that it was her debut, just in the movie industry altogether. I don't see her purpose. I felt like she fell short. I felt like she just was absolutely useless, other than the fact that she was the granddaughter of the man that Logan had saved, back during World War II, Japan. And he came to Japan to say goodbye, as the man was dying, and he pleads to Logan, "Hey, protect my granddaughter. She's my, she's everything to me."
Mm.
And we find out that she's going to take control of the company that this man has built, right?
Right.
But she was just mostly like, "Get away from me. Get away. Leave me alone." And then like she turns into the love interest, which is actually kind of made me uncomfortable to some
It
degree.
happens fast too, don't you
It
think?
happens
Yeah.
fast. And ultimately, I just felt like she served no purpose whatsoever. Like she gets kidnapped like how many times in this movie? And then there's this whole thing where she's like, "Oh yeah, I won a knife contest when I was young with my ex, love interest, who's really good with a bow and arrow." He's basically like the Japanese version of Hawkeye, which is,
Right.
kind of cool. But that was weird. And then at the very end, she kills her, dead grandfather in the silver samurai outfit, which I also have draw issue with. We'll get to that in a moment. But she like picks up the broken adamantium claws and then like chucks it at the dude's head, and that's it? Are
Well,
you kidding me? If
that's not it though.
could you
He,
you could have taken her out of this whole movie
yeah.
and it would have been probably the same, like just without having to give her like screen time. It could have been like there's this other thing that needs to be dealt with, and that's taking down the son who wants to take over the company, right? If they had focused more on that than just like protecting her and given more screen time to redhead chick, I can't think of her name,
Yukio.
Yukio. I liked her. I thought she served
Yukio.
purpose. Oh god. She was cool. I liked her look. I liked her purpose. Like I just felt Mariko just really fell short.
I agree in some ways. I don't think you totally get rid of the character. I think you just don't like. So we talked about Yukio, and I want to bring this up because my point of stripping it down is the fact that like none of the other characters in this continue in the X-Men films except for Yukio, and it's played by a different actress, and it's a different tone for the character. She's in the Deadpool movies. She plays the girlfriend of the Negasonic.
Oh my god, that's supposed to be her?
Yeah, it's the same character, but it's a different
Shut up.
actress. No, that's why I said, "Hey, Yukio," and then she's like, "Hey, Wade," and he's like, "Hi, Yukio." Yeah, that's the same character. Yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah,
That never clicked.
no, but
That's
it's a
funny.
totally different version of the character, and it's a
Oh,
different
that's
actor. So,
terrible. Oh
well,
man, I liked
that's
her
kind
I
of
liked her in this movie.
no, I do too. But I mean, like, what I'm saying is like none of the other characters continue on. So, like, maybe if you know, maybe if you just like maybe you don't need to have all these characters, like the Minister of Justice character. Like, I get the
Dude from
role,
Tokyo Drift?
right?
Yeah, I was like, "Hey, I
DK,
remember that
yeah,
guy. DK."
the Drift King, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, he's in the film for a little bit. Even like Sanada, who plays the father, and he obviously
Mhm.
recently he was in Shogun. He was the lead actor in Shogun. It's like he's kind of underutilized in this film, in
He's
my opinion.
sidelined. He's
And
completely sidelined.
it's a movie where, like, obviously the big bad is Yoshida, who,
Yeah.
like, I think that's a good story to tell. Yoshida and Logan. Logan saves him from Nagasaki. Then years later, Yoshida wants to take Logan's, healing powers, and he wants to take the adamantium from him. And his thing of like, well,
Live
I'm gonna
forever.
give you, yeah, I'm gonna live forever. You're gonna die, put you out of your misery, basically. I think that's interesting. I think that's well done.
That's what
But
any good friend would do. Like, come on.
right.
That's what I would
But
do for you, Justin.
oh, I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. Thankfully for you or for me, I don't have healing powers or adamantium. So, um, but
Rats.
I feel like there's just too many villains or villain-like characters. You have
Yeah.
Viper, who obviously plays a role. Harada, who's kind of a villain, kind of not. He works for the House of Yoshida. He's the leader of the Black Ninja Clan, um, but
Yeah.
he also turns against Yoshida at the end.
Right.
Killed. Like I said, Viper. We mentioned
Minister of
the
Justice,
Minister of Justice guy.
the
There,
Sun.
the son is a villain, but also like that's where the story kind of in the middle of the film, it gets kind of like murky where
Yeah.
I get the idea of like you're having a succession plan and the son thinks it's going to him. It's going to go to the
Mhm.
granddaughter. That's interesting. But
Right.
you have like the Yakuza, they're hired to kill her. And then like, but then you've got the Black Ninja Clan, they're protecting her, but they're protecting her only for Yoshida's interests, which then later on when they find out what it is, they don't agree with it. It's kind of too much. Like I just kind of want Wolverine to face the Silver Samurai, which I thought the
Yeah.
fighting between the two characters was great when we got to see it.
I was with the movie
Yeah.
entirely, almost entirely, up until the Silver Samurai.
Okay.
I did not like the look of it
Wow.
personally.
Okay.
And then when I heard Hamada say trying to stop the Silver Samurai, he said, "Master, like this isn't like, in other words, this isn't the way, going Mandalorian on the guy." I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me that Yoshida is still alive and that thing is what's keeping him alive. It's basically like Iron Man, right? Keeping his heart beating. For me at that moment, it fell apart. I was just like, nope, this is too much. This is stupid. I don't like how they did this. And maybe it's because of the fact that I have not read these comics. I'm not quite familiar with the story. And as I've told y'all many, many times, I'm trying to not go into watching TV shows, movies, anything with expectations. That was like, oh no, this is no, I'm probably never going to watch the movie again because of that. I just think that did not work personally.
Well, you know what? You're not alone because that is the criticism that film critics have for the film is they think that the ending is very weak given
It's weak.
the I think the character looked cool. Like I think like having that imposing character, because one of the funny things in this film that I think is funny over and over throughout this film is you have these Yakuza guys who are going after Logan, right?
Right.
They know he's basically immortal. They know he has claws. There's one scene on the bullet train before we get the actual big scene of the bullet train where they're on top of the train, where Logan comes out of the bathroom because he's bleeding because the Viper had was affecting his healing powers, right?
Yeah, and he's been shot several times.
He's been shot. He's trying to clean himself up. He comes out of the restroom, opens the door. There's 4 Yakuza guys standing there. Logan is at least a foot taller than these dudes, right? He's a massive man with claws, and he can't die. These dudes look like they're going to take him barehanded, and it's like you're gonna die. Like, there are so many moments in this film. Like we talked about the Minister of Justice later on in the film when Logan goes to confront him, and he's with some probably prostitutes, I'm guessing. Yeah, and he's in his underwear. And the guy again is a foot shorter than this guy who's immortal, who's a mutant, who can kill everybody. And he's like, don't you know I'm the Minister of Justice? Don't you know I could do to you? And it's like, dude, he could kill you right now. Like,
go ahead, bub. Like,
there's too many people in this movie that are like too confident against Logan, which I'm just like, that's probably the most unrealistic thing about the movies. Is there's so many people that are like, yeah, dude, bring it. It's like, I would stomp you people. Like, not to mention the Wolverine. I mean, like, come on.
Yeah, you and Hugh Jackman are about the same height, so yeah, for sure.
Well, we're not in the same shape. I'm not saying that, but I'm just like, I just like that kind of stuff. To me, that reminds me of Man of Steel when, like, in the scene where
Martha.
No, not that scene. No, the scene where almost a year ago, literally, we did a 10-year anniversary of Man of Steel. So go back and check that out. But one of the scenes that always bothers me is when they're in the diner and the guy throws throws the beer in Clark's face, and Clark stands up, and he's like 2 feet taller than the guy. He's 220 pounds of solid muscle, and the guy's like 140. Like Henry Cavill, the person, would rip that guy in half, much less Superman. So
listen,
I always hate that kind of stuff, but in this movie, there's a lot of opportunities for that, and I just wanted to point it out.
As someone who stands under 5 foot, we all get Napoleon syndrome, all right? Like, it happens to the best of us, especially when you're up against a giant, individual. So yeah, I get why people may feel like, oh, I'm gonna buck up because I need to make up for what I lack in height and build. I mean, I get it. I totally get it. Also, don't mess with me, people. I may be short. Although she be but little, she is fierce. Okay. Quoting William Shakespeare right there, y'all. But anyway, that's beside the
But
point.
you don't have claws and adamantium claws, and you're not immortal.
Not that you know of.
Not that that's fair. That's fair. Good point.
I may not have the claws. I may have the fingernails like what's her face in X2. So, fear me. No,
Well,
so I get what you're saying. I totally agree that there are far too many characters that are almost on the villain level, but not quite the villain level.
yeah.
I feel like if you do subtract these additional characters and give more story and screen time to other characters that actually, in my opinion, matter, it would have just been fleshed out a lot better. But I'm going to take it back just a tad bit further, Justin, about some wonkiness in the storyline. Now, this movie is supposed to kind of make up for what X-Men Origins Wolverine did not do and did not deliver, right? Because Hugh Jackman himself said he wasn't very pleased with the outcome of Origins. So when we set the story in the beginning, it's World War II Japan, right? Nagasaki. We all should know the events of Nagasaki and what happened in Japan, right? But Wolverine is in like this underground cellar type thing, and he's watching what's happening around him. And yes, he goes and saves Yoshida, and we see like this really cool like effect where because of the bomb that had gone off, Logan's being burned, right? His skin is just charred and he's very crispy, but obviously the healing powers are reviving him and what have you.
Yeah.
And Yoshida, in, I guess, in a very cultural way of respect, gives Logan his samurai sword, right? And Logan says, "Hey, hold on to it. I may come back for it one day." Cool, great. Here's my problem. Given that later on in the movie, of course, what was the redhead's name? Yukio. Yukio comes and finds Logan in modern time, right? Finds him back in Canada. He's lying low. As you said, the events have happened since Last Stand, right? He's seeing visions of Jean. He's, living like in a nomadic state. But my problem with this is like when you set it up the way that you did in 1940s Japan, but then you kind of reference back to Origins where Logan was with his brother in World War II, right? They in all the wars, they were storming the beaches of Normandy for World War II. At what point did Logan become separated from his brother? Also, why? Why was he separated from why was he captured? And how the hell did he get back to his brother to then proceed to the Vietnam War?
Great point. I thought of the same thing, but I'll take it a step further.
Okay.
Because here's my major problem or plot hole with the movie. So let's think about, how did X-Men Origins Wolverine end? Logan gets shot in the head twice.
The memories, yes.
Exactly. He gets shot twice in the head with adamantium bullets to erase his memory. So how does he remember Yoshida in 1940? Was it 45, 46?
Same thing.
Yeah.
I thought
unless you say, okay, well, Origins took place before the 3 X-Men films, right? X-Men X2, X-Men Last Stand. At some point in those movies, and I have watched these movies recently in the last month or so, does he regain his memories? Maybe Jean does that. Jean Grey
and Charles were kind of like, helping him try to unlock what was missing, stolen, whatever the word you want to use. Yes. So there may be some slight validity behind that, but like, how much of it? Because not only that, Justin, not only was he able to recall Yoshida. Then you start hearing him having I wouldn't say visions, but he's recalling memories of old, like as he's, I guess, dying at one point against the silver. I also say silver surfer,
Yeah.
silver samurai. That's tough. You unless you're watching closed caption, you wouldn't know it, but he's saying Kayla, or you're hearing
You
Kayla
hear her
say, "I
voice.
love you." You
Yeah.
hear her voice.
Right.
So now he's able to remember her when he couldn't, obviously
Yeah.
remember her at Stryker Island when she died. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's these plot holes, and it's driving me nuts.
Yeah.
I've said it once, I'll say it a million times, y'all. Continuity is important to me. Like, whether or not you do or do not want to reference the previous movie at all, like, just make it make sense.
Yeah.
Because then I also have an issue with the mid credit. We'll get there when we get there. But for here, I'm like, how can we start off in Japan when the previous movie showed he was with his brother during World War II? Why was he separated? What got him captured? Because we have no idea why he got captured. And how did he get linked back up with his brother? You know what I'm saying? Like, I just, and then more importantly, the memories that he was able to recall for modern times when Yukio came to find him and he remembers who Yoshida is. Make it make sense, people. Make it make sense. He remembered where the underground bomb cellar thing was when he was in Nagasaki.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
Speaking of memories, or maybe I should say dreams, what did you think about Jean Grey's role in this film? Because she's in the movie, quite a bit. They're all dream scenarios. What did you think about Jean and the role she played in this movie as his like fantasy woman, but he also killed her in X-Men Last Stand because she was taken over by the Phoenix.
Right.
X-Men Last Stand might be the worst X-Men movie. Let us know in the comments which one you think is the worst. We didn't review that movie, but I've watched it recently. That's a movie I actually saw in the theater back in the day, and I remember back in the day I thought this is not that good. So, but anyway, Brittany, what did you think about Jean Grey in this movie?
I can understand the reason for her being present. There is that sense of guilt, of course, that Logan is carrying. This was the woman that he loved. He ended up killing her because, one, she did ask for it in the end of Last Stand, in case y'all haven't watched that movie. But I would still feel some type of way killing the one that I love, right? And you're going to carry that with you no matter the length of time.
Right.
Finally, Logan does seem to let her go, even though he's dying, which I thought was kind of interesting. Like, he knows he's dying, or he senses that he's dying. And when she asks him in that final vision dream like state, are you going to stay with me? And he's like, no, I can't. And it's like, wait a minute, like, you've kind of wanted to be with her, like, probably from the moment that you met her, and then now you're not going to. And I don't know if it was just like the symbolism of just letting it go altogether, or he knew he was going to heal because obviously he regained his healing powers at that point to a degree. So it was the presence. I understood. I think it served its purpose. I think it was a little too much personally, but I can go either way on it, I guess. Like, I think what I will confidently say is that it was a little too much. Like, we get it. We get the point. We get the point that you're seeing visions. It's giving me Interview with a Vampire vibes, y'all. If y'all haven't checked out our current pod review for season 2 of Interview with the Vampire, the Louis with Ghost Lestat, y'all need to go check it out because it's giving me the same sort of vibes.
Yeah, definitely check out that pod. It's doing very well for us. We appreciate all the
Killing
views,
it,
comments, subscribers. We love it. Keep it coming.
It's amazing. Thank you.
So talking about Jean Grey, I want to point out that in Last Stand, and I don't want to spoil this for anybody, but spoilers. So in Last Stand, Jean Grey becomes the Phoenix. She kills Cyclops, right? She also kills Professor X. And then, of course, Logan is forced to kill her before she basically destroyed the world. Now, Professor X, however, he's not dead. just like in X-Men 97, which in X-Men 97, we didn't think he was really dead. He was just off world, like in almost like a death-like state. But again, he was with the Shi'ar Empire in X-Men 97.
He was
In
dead in
this,
our hearts, Justin.
right. In this universe, though, he was dead at the end of X-Men Last Stand.
He
And
was.
then at the end of this movie, the mid-credit scene, he's very much not dead. Brittany, run us through the mid-credit. What'd you think about the return of Patrick Stewart as Professor X?
Have issues. Goes without saying, I have issues. Again, continuity, people. The mid-credit scene was fine because once the big bad has been killed, the granddaughter inherits the company. Logan leaves Japan with Yukio, and basically they're just gonna, go on their own adventure, whatever. Well, in the mid-credit scene, there's no Yukio. It's just Wolverine, right? Or Logan, whatever. I'm going to use those names interchangeably. Keep up. So he's going through airport security. He opts out for the metal detector for obvious reasons. He sees this commercial for Trask. And as that's happening, you're hearing rattling of metal, and there's only one other mutant that we're aware of that could be manipulating all the metal here. And this, I actually did appreciate this part because it was a continuation of what we did see, spoiler, at the end of Last Stand, where Magneto, who had been injected with the serum to, I guess, remove the mutant powers, what have you, he kind of was testing the waters to see if he could move the chess piece, and it kind of sort of moved. So for him to be able to regain his powers and then to showcase it in that mid-credit scene, cool. That at least gave me explanation and closure, right? So he stops Wolverine because of the adamantium that's in his body, of course. And then you see the surrounding people go still. What other character or mutant have we seen who has that ability? None other than Charles, what the fuck, Xavier, who just rolls on in, right? And Logan is just completely surprised. Like, you're alive? And he being Charles goes, you're not the only one with gifts. That's the explanation? Dude, we already knew you're a mutant. You have like such a level of telepathy and whatnot. Like, you're one of the most powerful mutants out there, along with Magneto. And your explanation is you're not the only one with gifts. And we have no explanation whatsoever as to how and why he's alive.
Totally agree. Counterpoint, I think it's a great tease and a great setup for the next film in the series, which is X-Men Days of Future Past. So that movie is one of the better X-Men movies, maybe the best one. So
I will say, with the First Class and Days of Future Past, those were supposed to be other like origin movies for Magneto and Xavier, respectively. Right. I like them for what it is. I mean, they're not like super high ranking for me, but I don't like how we don't have an explanation as to how Charles survived, how he came back, because we saw him like just go to dust basically when Jean killed him. So I don't make it make sense.
Yeah. Well, Days of Future Past was the highest grossing X-Men movie at $746 million. It also has 90% of Rotten Tomatoes. However, if you consider the Deadpool movies, both Deadpool movies made more than that. So Deadpool is the king of the X-Men movies when talking about box office. But Days of Future Past is pretty good. And there is a rogue cut, which I have not seen. I'm going to watch it this week.
I've heard about it.
Where Rogue is not really in the movie much. And apparently the rogue cut adds like, I don't know, 20 minutes of her character, I believe. So I'll be watching that as we get ready to talk about next week's episode. We're going to review Deadpool from 2016, the first Deadpool film, which I'm really looking forward to that. But in between, I'm watching all the other X-Men movies so I don't miss anything as we ramp up for Deadpool and Wolverine. Brittany, we kind of bounced around this movie. Let's hit some of our favorite scenes or favorite lines. And I want to get your perspective on the CGI bear, the grizzly bear. I like this scene. I mean, obviously it's sad that the bear dies. You got these hunters who they use these illegal poisonous arrows. They they leave the bear for dead. Long-haired Logan sees him in the woods.
Long hair Logan.
Yeah, puts the bear out of his misery, and then he goes down to the local bar, finds the hunter who survived the grizzly attack, stabs the guy in the hand with one of the arrows. Like it's a good scene. Like
Yeah.
you want that guy to get his comeuppance after what he did to that bear. What'd you think about the bear?
Aesthetically, it looked pretty believable, I would say, given, of course, the time that this movie came out for 2013. It looks good. It looks good, and I understood like the kindred sort of relationship that Logan has with this bear. Like you see them earlier in the movie, they're walking side by side, they're kind of marking their trees and what have you. So they just kind of like leave each other alone. They respect one another's space. You don't mess with me, I don't mess with you. But yeah, Logan took it personal when that bear was in pain and could easily interpret of please put me out of my misery. And it pained Logan to do that. He said, don't make me do this. Like, don't ask me to do this. And it was just like, I get it. I get it. You mess with my dog, you're gonna mess with me.
Yeah.
And
claws will come out then. Yeah.
Claws will come out, all of it. And I would probably do the exact same thing that Logan did to that guy in the bar who was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I like the line that Logan said about the barbed or the poison tipped arrow, that's already in this dude's hand. And you can kind of see it's already kind of working its way into the system. And the guy's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Logan's like, well, then you have nothing to worry about now, don't you?
Yeah.
It was a great line. It was a fabulous line. One thing's for sure is that Logan will have some banger one-liners. And that for me was pretty cool. That was pretty cool. It's like, hey, if this isn't yours and it's not poison, you got nothing to worry about.
Yeah, this movie is loaded up with like Logan has some great lines as he's killing people or torturing people. Like literally every character he interacts with, he has a great line. We're probably gonna go through many of them. Another one of my favorite scenes is in the beginning or toward the beginning, whenever Logan goes to Japan, he finds out that that Yoshida is, Yoshida, the soldier he saved in 1945 is now, this tech billionaire in Japan. He formed Yoshida Industries and he's apparently dying of cancer or have some kind of disease.
Yeah.
And his dying wish is to see Logan one last time. So we have Yukio who finds Logan, takes him to Japan, and then he finally sees Yoshida again, and Yoshida calls Logan Kazuri, which we'll learn later is an animal, and
it means the Wolverine,
right? Basically the Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
But Yoshida says he's like basically he wants to have Logan's healing power. He wants that transferred. He wants. He basically says look, this is your chance at an ordinary life, an ordinary death. And Logan passes. And I love the line. He's like, yeah, look, nice to see you again. Sorry you got sick. Like, I love that delivery as he's trying to walk out. Cause it is like crazy.
Peace out, bro.
Right. And then Logan's like, you don't want what I've got. So, I do like that whole interaction. Of course, the old man's laying on this bed of some kind of metal that kind of moves with his body, which it looks cool. I think the visuals of this movie, if this movie were made now, it would not look that good. The bear would not look that good. I guarantee the bear wouldn't look that good. And there's something about movies from 10, 15 years ago that just looked way better than they do now. Maybe it's because everyone uses, so much volume. That's one thing I think people are going to be there's all this talk about AI. Of course, AI is going to take over the world, but for art purposes, AI is going to make art it's going to cheapen art because some people have complained about Marvel movies the last couple of years because there's so much CGI, there's so much green screen kind of stuff, and we've complained about Star Wars doing the same thing. It's only going to look worse. It's not going to look better. I'm sorry to tell you. It's you watch AI videos online and it looks fake as hell. It's cool they can produce stuff in the snap of a finger, but it's pretty fake looking.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's why I appreciate this movie for the visuals that they actually created. And, I'm not sure how much of it was practical. Obviously, most of it was probably created in a computer, but
Sure.
It looks pretty practical. It looks pretty realistic to me. So that's my AI rant. But
Well,
the, go
on the
ahead.
subject of just, special effects and that kind of thing, the fight scene that Logan has with the son, Shinjin, how do you
It's
say his name?
yeah. I think they said it sounds like they pronounce it Shingen, but like to me
Sure,
it should be
we'll go with
Shinjin.
that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, they're fighting. The son is fighting with the armor and the katana and what have you. And at this point, of course, Logan has already regained his healing powers because
Yeah.
whatever the Viper had like put into his body that was attacking his heart, he like just fantastically cut into his own self, his own
Self
abdomen.
surgery. That was rough. Yeah.
Jeez, that was rough, but that looked pretty good though. Reaches up into his heart to pull the thing, dies, but because he is a healing mutant, he comes back to life, which was cool. And he's coming back with vengeance, people. So seeing the very shirtless Hugh Jackman looking and living his best life, if you will,
Yeah.
fighting the son, and they're going back and forth. The son is, of course, like very skilled with the katana and just, swiping left and right and cutting and stabbing. And like at one point, it seems like he had a very clean swipe going across Logan's abdomen. Like it should have sliced him in half if
Right.
he did not have the healing powers that he does.
Right.
And the line that's delivered here, which is one of my favorite lines, where the son asks Logan, "What kind of monster are you?"
Yeah.
And Logan simply says, "The Wolverine," and then stabs him in the neck with the claws. Like that was just really cool to me. It's a great one-liner, but that whole fighting sequence was just really well done, very believable. I know at this point, Hugh Jackman is doing a lot of his own stunts, so to see him put in that effort into the fight choreography and just really deliver for the silver screen was really, really, really cool for me personally.
And part of why he might be doing his own stunts is because it's hard for other people to replicate the way he looked. I mean, reading about like how he got in shape, he would basically dehydrate his body. That's why the muscles pop. He wouldn't drink
Mhm.
fluids for 36 hours before they're filming. So like he was like
He
probably
called
not feeling great, even though he
no,
looked
he looked
superhuman because
good.
he kind of was
He looked
superhuman,
good.
honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but you're
He
right. Like that
called
scene.
he called Dwayne Johnson to ask him how to build muscle and how to just
Yeah.
get in that shape. And Dwayne's like, "Hey, you need to eat like a- an absorbent amount of calories a day
Yeah.
and just a lot of course, protein and what have you." But like eh, getting tips from a very well known bodybuilder, if you will, I would say at this point, I mean, that's pretty much what Dwayne Johnson
Yeah,
looked
but
like.
the thing about Hugh Jackman's movie, it's like The Rock has never been as like cut and
Oh, no, 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 no.
lean
No,
as
no, no,
like
no.
yeah,
No, no, no.
right.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, don't get me wrong, but to reach out to someone who, like,
Yeah,
actively stays in that kind of shape and consumes that much to stay in shape is it was good. It was good of him to do that,
yeah,
but yeah, the dehydration bit of it is God, that's gotta be brutal because I know Henry Cavill did the same thing for his shirtless scenes in The Witcher. That way he looked as ripped as possible, but man, that's tough on the body, and given Hugh Jackman's age, he's getting up there in age. He's also dealt with skin cancer multiple times. And so to, have to juggle all of that and try to put the best performance out there and be in your best shape is just wild to me. So kudos to Hugh Jackman for, just stepping up and showing up. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah,
he's a real one for that.
yeah. Um, before to talk about another action scene, as Wolverine is doing this self surgery, cutting into his chest into his heart to remove that whatever it is, that device that's on his heart. Yukio and Shinjin or Shingen are fighting. It's a
Mhm.
pretty good
Yeah.
battle. So I love all the action in this movie. Like it's really well choreographed and like we said before, Wolverine gets some great kills and some great lines
Yeah.
as he's like, some go home kills that really work out well.
Mhm.
Are there any other scenes you want to highlight?
Before Logan could be presented to the dying
Oh, yeah.
Yoshida, he has to be he has to be presentable, right? And so he has to take a bath in a very traditional sort of way, it seems, over in Japan. And when he walks out, he's got a haircut, he's got the very, Wolverine look, of course. He's being followed by Yukio, and she's smiling, and he's like, "What?" And she continues to smile, and he's like, "What?" Her response, "You look nice. I feel violated."
Yeah, no, that was great.
That was great. That was great. Oh, and also, I think it's probably within Hugh Jackman's contract that for every appearance he makes as Wolverine, he gets to at least say the F word once. And so when Logan is trying to rescue Mariko, and he encounters Harada, he tells Harada, "I'm going to get her." And Harada says, "We are grateful for your protection of Mariko. There is one more sacrifice you must make for her family." And Logan says, "Go fuck yourself, pretty boy."
Yeah, and the way that scene continues and plays out, very cool visual.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing Wolverine get it looks like a pincushion, all those arrows with the ropes, and they're trying to take him captive, and there's probably like 25 in his back, and he's like still standing. Until the poison arrow hits him, and then he knocks him out. But that's a cool visual to see him walking with all those arrows in his back, and very cool looking stuff. We mentioned the bullet train before, but like when the fighting on top of the bullet train, which again, it's going 300 miles per hour according to Logan, and you've just got these regular dudes on top of this train trying to
how have they not flown off?
Well, I mean, also it's like, what is their plan? Like, you're fighting an immortal who has claws. Like, I mean, it looks cool, but these are not the Yakuza, not the smartest. I'll put that out there. Like, if you're in a helicopter shooting down on the train, cool. But like on top of the train, like if the train doesn't kill you, which it's going to, Wolverine's going to kill you, which he does. And I do like the part, he's jumping, and he's like, they're ducking under signs and stuff. And then like to get the final kill, he just like jumps up, and the momentum, he puts like, it's almost like a Superman kind of deal, and goes claws first into the guy. Really, really cool looking stuff. Also, bullet trains, like we got to get those here in our country. Like,
listen, I've been on a couple of bullet trains in Europe, and it's definitely a means to travel. Like, I traveled from Paris to Nice, and then I took the Channel, which is the underwater train from London to Paris, and that was a trip in general. My ears popped, but yeah, that was quite the experience. I agree. I think there's supposed to be one that's supposed to be built here in Texas from Houston to Dallas.
Yeah, that's been talked about.
They've been talking about that for years. I know.
Yeah.
I need to see it happen. Okay. Also, I have no desire to go to Dallas, but it'd be cool just to have one here. Anyway, that's beside the point. Yeah. But I'm trying to think of some other things, Justin, of the movie that I liked, or I thought was kind of wonky a little. And it was right there, and I can't remember what it is right now. Oh. So I mentioned earlier about how the adamantium claws were like chopped off on one hand, right? And then in the final big sort of gesture of trying to kill the silver, I want to say Silver Surfer again. Good God, Brittany. Silver Samurai.
Both Marvel. Like, it's like,
I know.
You kind of blame them. It's like, come on, like, let's be a little different,
Yeah. There's a moment where
he could be the second place samurai. For Silver. Go ahead.
We just continue with the alliteration. There's a moment where Logan is like final, kind of gesture, and you see the bone claws like grow back.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, they're under there. They're underneath.
But they were snapped off with the claws. So how does the bone regrow? No. I'm writing this. I am 100% writing this.
The point is to not think about it too much.
I think about it, Justin.
But, as you say, he finishes the movie with the bone claws. And then when we go 2 years in the future, when we're doing the Days of Future Past teaser, he has the bone claws. Now, I have seen Days of Future Past. It's been a few years. I don't remember how he gets his claws back, but I'm
But they
pretty sure
grew right in front of us. I'm like, bones don't do that.
well, I mean, he has that.
Bones don't regrow.
But that's part of his mutation, though, right?
That his bones
So
regrow. He can heal himself. Are you saying that the healing power applies to the bone regrowth?
yes, that's what I'm saying. Thank you for giving me the answer. I think so. That's
I hate you.
that's my explanation.
Okay. Okay. I'll just have to accept it. Unless anyone out there can give us a better explanation, is that an ability that Logan has as part of his healing mutation? Does that mean that his bones can regrow in that manner? Like, bones can heal. I know that, but they don't regrow. If that were the case, I would be over 5 feet tall. Anyway, that's beside the point. Sorry.
Yeah. Another great moment in the movie, we referenced this a little bit ago, but whenever he throws the Minister of Justice out the window, and the guy
Yes.
just so happens to land in a pool, and Yukio's like, "Oh, how'd you know a pool was down there?" He's like, "I didn't." He's just gonna throw him out the window and kill him. That's awesome.
Matter of
And
factly.
let's fast forward to the end of the movie when once again Logan's like final great line after what you said, Mariko has to like kill her grandfather who is like, rapidly getting younger as he's draining the Wolverine's healing powers and life force. And he's basically as young as he was whenever Logan met him in the 40s.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, she throws one of the claws, hits him in the head. Then he's still talking to her. Then she stabs him in the neck. And then Logan gets the final kill when he goes with the bone claws. And he's like, you wanted me to say goodbye to you. Sayonara.
Sayonara.
So he throws him out of the facility off the cliff.
Yeah.
And the end of the Silver Samurai. Or the second place samurai. Either way. So it's whatever you think.
I don't know. I don't care for the ending in general. I think it's not a very strong ending. Like I said, I was with the majority of the movie from start to the moment that it was revealed that the Silver Samurai was the dead Yoshida. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is a ripoff of Iron Man, basically. To me, it seems like that because that was the suit or obviously the mini arc reactor is what's keeping Tony alive, and then it powers the suit and all that stuff.
I mean, there's a lot of different power suits in comics. There's obviously
branch out people.
Yeah, but Iron Man, Lex Luthor has one. John Henry Irons, also Superman character. Steel, he has a power suit. Like that's just part of the game.
No. I will not accept that. Anyway, that's beside the point. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think just the movie was fine. It definitely was a step up from Origins, with the exceptions of the continuity issues that I have an issue with. Of course, how the hell does how does Logan remember these past events?
Yeah.
How and why did he get captured in the first place in Nagasaki? And just why? Just why? That's kind of my question. Also, why Charles Xavier came back without any explanation whatsoever. It's like bringing back Palpatine in Star Wars when we saw him fucking die 40 years prior.
I don't think it's that bad. Let's pump the brakes. I don't think it's that bad.
It's on par. It's on par.
I disagree.
You could accept Charles's return but you can't accept Palpatine's return. Come on.
The Palpatine stuff is ridiculous. Like
ridiculous.
You can't compare anything to that. That's the worst. And this movie is not the worst. I enjoyed the movie.
It's not.
No,
it's not.
I did enjoy the movie visually. I think it looks amazing. This is a movie I'll probably watch again at some point, not anytime soon, but I enjoyed the movie. It's a good time. I wish it was like 20 minutes shorter, but that's kind of like my thing for almost all these movies. They're all.
I wish there were less characters.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yep.
But all in all, I enjoyed the movie.
Yeah.
Brittany did as well. We want to know what you think about the movie, though. And Brittany, how can people tell us what they thought about the Wolverine?
Wolverine. Well, I mean, as always, we encourage everyone to participate in our live chats here on YouTube, just like King B. Johnson did. We appreciate you being here as always and giving us your feedback and your quotes and just your thoughts. But if you're watching the replay, be sure to leave a comment down below on your thoughts of the Wolverine. What was it indeed better than X-Men Origins Wolverine, or did it also fall short for you? Let us know either way. And while you're leaving that comment down below, be sure to subscribe to our channel in case you already haven't. Give us a like, and also don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you know the next time we will go live for our next pod. And in this case, we've got a lot coming this summer. I mean, we're going to be jam-packed with content, so subscribe.
Yes,
And also take a moment to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, all at Watchers Basement. Use the hashtag Watchers Basement to help grow our audience. And lastly, follow us on our audio podcasts, which are available to you on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating.
Thank you, Brittany. Yeah, that's right. We got a lot coming up. Obviously, you're going to continue to review Interview with the Vampire. We will have House of the Dragon season 2 very soon. The Boys season 4. And we're going to continue our road to Deadpool and Wolverine. Next week, we're talking about 2016's Deadpool, the first film with the Merc with the Mouth, the first official film with the actual real Deadpool character portrayed by Ryan Reynolds. So looking forward to that. So get ready, rewatch the movie. It's on Disney Plus right now. I think it's on some other streamers. So go out there and find it, rewatch it. Join us next week as we talk about Deadpool, the first film. So once again, thanks, Brittany. So for Brittany, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next week. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Sayonara, bub.